We're running a little behind schedule, but okay. How did we do last year? I don't even remember.
It was a little later.
Oh, it was a little
Yeah,
later?
I think we're okay.
Oh, okay.
Compared to last year.
Okay. Okay, going to call to order. Today is May 13th, 2019, fiscal year 20 operating budget hearings of the Budget and Finance Committee and Metro Council. Before us, we have the Codes Administration. We have Director Bill Herbert. I will allow you to do the introductions, and then you can walk us through your budget. The floor is yours, Director.
Thank you, Chair Burcher. Appreciate that. Thanks for letting us be here. We really appreciate it. I have with me today, to my right, I have Assistant Director Roy Jones, and to my left, I have Deputy Director Wade Hill. Also in the back, I've got the Director of the Property Standards Division, Mr. Bill Penn. Behind him, I've got the Zoning Administrator, John Michael, and I've got our Public Information Officer with us today, Sean Braystead. Thank you all for being here. I would like to be the third department, Chair Burcher, to thank you for the cost of living increase on behalf of our 113 employees.
Somebody's been watching budget hearings.
So the Codes Department can operate within the mayor's proposed budget. The mayor's budget includes 2 additional full-time employees, and they are allocated for short-term rental enforcement. Other than that, our budget is a status quo budget. The Codes Department will meet its budget savings target of $287,900, and we anticipate returning approximately $14.5 million to the general fund. I'd like to give you a bit of an overview of how our department performed during calendar year 2018. We issued just over 54,000 building and trade permits, resulting in $3.6 billion in construction value in Nashville for 2018. That's slightly down from 2017. However, our third quarter under this year for fiscal year 19 was $1.4 billion. That's the highest single quarter in the history of Nashville. Our building division conducts the building inspections, the electrical inspections, plumbing, and gas mechanical inspections. We have 10 building inspectors and 1 chief, and they performed just over 31,000 building inspections during 2018. We have 9 electrical inspectors and 1 chief, and they performed over 36,000 electrical inspections. 8 gas mechanical inspectors and 1 chief, over 16,000 inspections. 7 plumbing inspectors and 1 chief performed almost 30,000 inspections. That's a total of over 114,000 inspections during the calendar year of 2018. Our zoning division creates building permit applications and reviews site plans for zoning code compliance and applies Title 17. Our 6 zoning examiners reviewed approximately 14,000 site plans last year and created and approved almost 14,000 building permits during 2018. We have 1 zoning examiner that is dedicated exclusively to short-term rental. That zoning examiner issued just over 2,100 short-term rental permits during 2018, and our department has issued over 77 short-term rental permits since the program began in March of 2015. We have 3 support persons for the Board of Zoning Appeals. The Board of Zoning Appeals this last year heard 740 appeals. They heard 314 sidewalk appeals and 273 short-term rental appeals. That's a 40% increase over 2017, which is a 70% increase over 2016. Our Property Standards Division enforces the Property Standards Code and the Zoning Code. We have 22 inspectors and 3 chiefs. They handled over 21,000 requests for services during 2018, and they filed over 3,600 environmental court cases. We have 2 full-time employees currently for short-term rental enforcement, and they handled 637 short-term rental cases in 2018. They served 330 warrants on illegal short-term rentals, and they handled over 1,500 24/7 hotline complaints through the host compliance. Our Property Standards Division responded to more than 21,000 hub requests during 2018. They removed almost 15,000 illegal signs from the right-of-way, and they tagged 280 abandoned vehicles. Our Alarm Registration Division issued 47,500 alarm permits in 2018. Our Plan Review Division, with 6 plan reviewers, approved over 3,600 building plans in 2018. Our Permit Issuance Division is comprised of 5 permit issuance personnel and 1 supervisor, issued over 13,000 building permits, over 20,000 electrical permits, almost 10,000 plumbing permits, and 10,500 gas mechanical permits, for a total of over 54,000 permits issued in 2018. Going to our budget for fiscal year 19, our current fiscal year, our estimated revenue for our current fiscal year was $22.8 million. Based on the last 10 months, we anticipate actual revenues being about 8% over that amount. Our estimated expenses for the current fiscal year were $10.7 million. Based on the last 10 months, we anticipate that our actual expenditures will be underspent by about 8%. So, that being the case, we intend to be about 8% over what we budgeted in terms of revenue. We intend to be about 8% under what we budgeted in terms of expenses, resulting in a return to the general fund of $14.5 million. For fiscal year 20, our estimated revenues are going to be $23.8 million. That's up about $1 million over our current year, and the reason for that is if the short-term rental fee increase is implemented, that will add an extra $1 million to our budget. And so other than that, we're essentially where we were last year, but up $1 million because of the additional revenue from the short-term rental fees. We had requested 2 budget modifications. The first one was regarding a water services employee to assist us in the Development Services Center. We are not requesting that any longer. Thanks to Scott Potter and the Water Department, who had lent us Leoncio Dominguez. Leoncio was on assignment to the Codes Department to assist the Hispanic community with translation. He's also very knowledgeable in our permitting process and city works, and he's been a great help. And thanks to Scott, Scott has allowed us to continue our memorandum of understanding for yet another year, so we will maintain Leoncio in the Development Services Center. Thank you, Scott. We had also requested for budget modification of 3 additional property standards inspectors for short-term rental enforcement. The mayor's proposed budget recommends 2, and we can live with that. We're glad to have 2 additional inspectors, and we hope that you would be amenable to that. That's my presentation, and be glad to try to field any questions that you may have.
Thank you so much, Director. I only have 2. Will we see an increase in the alarm permit and in the landlord permits? Because I think the alarm permit is only, what, $10 or $20?
Roy, you want to handle that?
The alarm permit can be either $25 or $50, depending on whether it's commercial or not. The revenue for the last 3 or 4 or 5, well, since it's been brought over to the Codes Department last, I think, 4 years, it's been pretty consistent. I'm not sure there's going to be that much growth unless, more people have it. It's about 40, I think it was 47, 48,000 permits per year, and that seems to be holding pretty steady.
So we're not going to increase it from, I said $10. We're not going to increase it from 20. We're not going to increase that.
There has not
fee
been
on
any,
it?
not to my knowledge, any thought process on that.
Okay. I say that because maybe I'm that person that sets off the alarm, and maybe I'm that person where the police officer has to come out. And, you know, they write you the little slip, and I know that $25 isn't covering the cost for that police officer to come out and make sure that I'm the person that's supposed to be there and that kind of thing. That's what made me ask. And then the landlord permit, and Director Penn Assistant Director Penn is back there, is some of my issues with property standards violations is with rental properties. And I know y'all do a lot of work in trying to track down those property owners. I don't know if that fee is covering the administrative costs for what you guys are doing in that aspect too. So I'm just putting it out there.
Okay, thank you very much, and we will take a look at that.
The alarm permit and the landlord permit.
Right, thank you.
The landlord permit is $10.
I knew one of them was $10,
Right,
yeah.
That's right.
So landlord permit $10, the alarm permit $25.
Or 50 commercial.
Yeah, 50 commercial.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, Councilwoman Henderson.
Thank you, Chair Vercher and Director Herbert. It would be great if you could send the council, I was trying to take notes really fast with all those amazing statistics, but if you could send us your introductory remarks
Absolutely.
to council, that'd be great, just
Yes,
so
glad to do that.
we could
I'll
share
send those.
those with our constituents. I was interested also, the landlord permit, $10. How many landlord permits do we issue annually?
The revenue, I believe, is about 60, I'll have to look, but it's somewhere in there, 66,000. So, 6,600 or so per year.
Okay. And so does that just provide a touch point then to be in touch with those folks and communicate the property standards and so forth to them? I mean, do we do any, to Chair Lady Vercher's point, do we do any sort of proactive communication with them around property standards, or?
I'm going to send that question out to Sean Braystead or Bill Penn. Can either one of you all field that?
So it's a landlord registration program that was required by the state of Tennessee, actually. So the $10, I believe, is actually set in state law, and that's what is there. It's $10 per landlord. So if you have 50 properties, it's still $10. So it's not a per permit or it's not based on any other number other than they created a number at the state, and that's what it is. So, and it helps, I believe, identify properties, when you have, a tenant issue, and identify the property owners in that regard.
Okay, so as far as proactive communication, though, because the $10 is mandated by the state, and that's not going to really cover too much, is
Yeah,
I mean, it seems like a good touch point that you could be more proactive, but it doesn't garner much revenue to
Is the
to
mandate
support
just
that.
a minimum amount, or is the mandate a maximum amount? Is the state saying the minimum amount has to be $10?
$10. It's just set in state law as $10 per landlord, so you can register 50 properties under one landlord for $10. So it's really just a clerical fee, because it's all it is doing is creating a list that you keep.
Understood, thank you.
And Bill has.
One other thing related to the landlord registration program, what we have done here in the last probably 3 or 4 years is we include a statement in the tax bill reminding those individuals when they pay their taxes that if they have a rental property, that they need to register that property with us. We do reach out to landlords as we go out and do inspections. We find properties where we have tenant complaints. We check those to see if that individual is registered. If that property is not, then we reach out to that landlord and say, hey, you need to register your property, and that becomes a codes violation. We've even taken individuals to environmental court because they have not registered their properties as mandated. So that's really the main thing that we're doing right now in order to kind of reach out and capture as many of those landlords as we can.
Appreciate that, thank you. And then, Chair Vercher, if I may, I appreciate, it was a long time coming, but I think it was last budget hearing that this council asked you to look at the short-term rental permit fee. And so we appreciate that is going to be a little more in line with the really, really cost to the city and your department for administering that. So I did want to ask a little bit more about the short-term rentals and getting the 2 additional staff members. Are you finding, though, I mean, it seems to me that most of the administration in the code space and what's coming before the Board of Zoning Appeals is still the fact of like, oops, I didn't know I had to have a permit, or this isn't a registered property, or, host compliance is kind of doing whatever their algorithm is online to kind of find out like, oh, unregistered. So, I know we've talked a lot in this body as to the nuisance factor and just kind of like, the 1,000 little cuts to quality of life, and how those aren't necessarily elevated to the level of call the police department, or if it's 2 a.m., you can't really call codes, and that's going to host compliance. But can you speak to these two individuals? Will they still really be just operating that space of this person doesn't have a permit, or is it whomever owns this short-term rental property isn't putting the trash out at the curb, or cars are being parked across the sidewalk, or there's loud music at 2 a.m.? I mean, can you speak to their work effort and what's needed?
Yes. So the answer is all of the above. So we have 2.5 people now dedicated, 2 full-time employees and 1 part-time that are dedicated. And so what one of them is doing full-time is working with host compliance. And as of actually today, we know of 1,100 properties that are not in compliance. And so he is working to notify them that we know who they are, where they are, and to seek compliance. And then he rechecks after they are notified and given a reasonable time to come into compliance. He rechecks, and if they're not in compliance, then he writes the warrant. So that's what one person does. The other person that we have full-time handles the 24/7 hotline complaint, trying to respond to people who have called in with a complaint, and maybe it's trash, maybe it's noise, whatever it may be, to determine whether or not whether they really are a short-term rental, and if so, do they have a permit, and are they operating legally? And Council Lady, you're right. Most of the appeals that we get to the Board of Zoning Appeals are people that we have caught that are operating, and they come in and say, you're right, they say, we didn't know we had to have a permit. So when they come and try to get a permit, they're denied because they were operating without one and or advertising. They appeal to the Board of Zoning Appeals and say, we didn't know. So you're right about that.
So, I mean, I understand that there are sometimes extenuating circumstances, and I fully appreciate that, everyone has the right to appeal. But I wonder, over the course of these few years, as, I guess, per the zoning administrator, if you are found not to be in compliance, so you are operating without a permit, is it just standard 1 year, that's it, no more permit, see you in 365 days, and then they're appealing that because they feel that that is too onerous, and then the BZA is accommodating and saying, oh, well, how about 3 months, how about 6 months, how about 9 months? And I wonder if, in a help to your effort, is there anything that we can do to change that somewhat, so that the constraints are more clear? I mean, certainly everything is appealable, understandable, but it just seems like these are not diminishing, and we are multi years as a city into, I mean, we're 3 years in, 4 years in now on short-term rentals. So people saying, oops, I didn't know, seems to be a pretty specious argument at this point. So can you speak to that, and what, from a policy perspective, we might be able to do so that it's not so onerous on your department from a time perspective and the BZA's time?
Yes, and you're right again. What people are doing is, when they're caught, they come in to get a permit, they're denied, and it is their right by state law to appeal our refusal to issue their permit. And I think that what a lot of them are thinking is, well, the BZA has the ability to give me up to 1 year, so I might as well roll the dice, take my chances with the Board of Zoning Appeals. I know one thing for certain is that if I get a warrant and go to environmental court and found guilty, that the judge is mandated to give me a mandatory 3 years for injunction from being able to operate a short-term rental. So I might as well go to the Board of Zoning Appeals because they can only give me up to 1 year. And as you said, they'll come in and state their case, whatever it may be, and the board may give them time served or anything in between all the way up to 1 year. So they don't have anything to lose by going to the Board of Zoning Appeals. So you may remember that council amended, it was originally a mandatory 1 year at the Board of Zoning Appeals if found guilty, but council amended that and took it and revised the language as to be up to 1 year. So now it can be anything from time served up to 1 year. So there's no reason not, from their perspective, not to appeal to the Board of Zoning Appeals. Now, that being said, we are now currently actively with Metro Legal exploring other opportunities to have administrative hearing officers hear these cases. We are actively working on that now.
Appreciate that. And I think, anytime that we can have more clarity, right, that I think that helps your department and our citizens as well. So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Henderson. Councilman Hall.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming out. Just really quick on the topic of property standards. Just could you speak to, and maybe Mr. Penn, in terms of resources that you guys may need or have been considering to help improve response time on complaints, and have you looked at increasing any fees in terms of violations across the board?
So we could always use more property standards inspectors. We equally understand that money's tight, and we have been actively pursuing technological ways by which we can be more efficient. And so by use of the hub, and Keith Durbin and ITS have been fantastic to us in giving us tools that we have not had before to help with enforcement. So we're trying to play smarter with the resources that we have. In terms of the fees that we impose, just generally speaking, as was demonstrated with the short-term rental fee study, you have to be very careful. A fee that you charge must directly offset the cost it takes to implement the service. Anything more than that is a tax, and we do not have the ability. That would be illegal. So we have to, the fees that we have are based upon what we believe the cost to implement the service.
Okay, and really quickly as a follow-up, in addition to fees, any increases or potential increases in fines for violations, because maybe those increased fines would, help offset some of those costs, but in addition to that, work to deter some of the incidents, especially the repeat offenders, so to speak, considering the unprecedented growth we're having as a city, your numbers that you alluded to, and then previously with planning. We know there's not going to be any slowdown in growth or development in the near future. So have there been any conversations about those increased fines to also balance that out and offset some of those costs?
So unfortunately, the fines are set by state law and the state constitution. And so by state law, so let me say it this way, we enforce through environmental court. That's how we enforce, and the judge is relegated or limited by state law to a $50 fine, and that's constitutional. There was a run maybe 15 years ago to try to amend that, and it did not pass by a constitutional amendment. However, it is $50 a day. And each day constitutes a separate violation. So the environmental court referee has the ability to impose $50 a day for each day of the violation. We cannot, there's no ability under current law to assess more than that. There is the ability for civil contempt. There's the ability for the environmental court judge to jail people under certain circumstances. And at least with regard to short-term rental, that has happened. So does that answer that question?
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Councilman Hall, what we did too as a body, and Director Penn, you can chime in, because I forget when we did that legislation, maybe 2 years ago, because we knew we couldn't tinker with the fees and the fines, but we wanted to provide a best policy practice for our codes department, because they work extremely hard as it relates to habitual offenders and having that process start all over again. So they do have that in their toolkit too when they go before the judge for habitual offenders. And we as a body, we changed that in the code, I believe, 2 years ago for habitual offenders.
Yes,
Councilman,
thank you, Chair
go
Berger.
ahead, Director.
Thank you, Chair Berger. I had forgotten that, but thank you.
Councilman, I only know because I sponsored it. Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Come on with it,
Gotcha.
man.
Most of my questions were asked by my colleagues with the fee increase for Airbnbs. And my other question, and you've already done a good job doing this, but as the city gets bigger, unfortunately, we get 99% of really wonderful people move into our city, but then we'll get that 1%. And Mr. Penn can help me out with this a little bit. You know, of course, in my districts, you know, I've had people against my wishes lock codes inspectors inside buildings. They've gone to hearings at your office and threatened code staff members. And they'll have illegal properties where we'll just say they're moving their meth lab back and forth. And even though your staff has dealt with it very well, the legal department and the police have assisted when needed, and I thank them for that. And however, though, as the city gets bigger, you know, I continue to see this as a recurring problem. And I'm not asking you to be the world police, but in the future, will there be an ask for, I don't want to say more safety training as far as codes inspectors, but maybe some assistance from the sheriff's department or greater assistance from Metro Police, or maybe assigning an officer just to have when people, you know, come and do weird things or they lock a codes inspector inside a building.
We will look into that. So you're touching on a point, and so we had this entity called the Environmental Task Force that was in effect some years ago. That was a combination of police and fire marshal and codes inspectors that would go and identify places like what you're suggesting. That was disbanded a number of years ago. There's actually been some talk to try to put that back together. The problem with our codes inspectors is we do not have the authority under law to enter into structures without a warrant. Now, the fire marshal does, and police can. So with that environmental task force, we were pretty effective in that regard. But since that's been disbanded, we're a little bit limited. Very happy to explore that. I think it's a great idea, and we'll be looking at that.
Councilman Davis.
Thank you, Director.
Thank you.
Director Herbert, thank you so much for your team, Mr. Penn, Mr. Bracelet, John Michael, just your entire team. Y'all are really Y'all do so much for our neighborhoods. I mean, y'all really, when we talk about quality of life, y'all are really the troops on the ground as it relates to that. And I just wanted to publicly say that because I know y'all get a gazillion emails from me, and you're always responsive. Mr. Bracelet, for my data requests, just thank you. You guys, y'all do an amazing job in the city. And I know a lot of times you may feel underappreciated, undervalued, but I want to publicly state on behalf of the Budget and Finance Committee, we appreciate everything you guys do. Before we adjourn, Budget and Finance Committee members and council members, want to let you know this week we are in budget hearings. We'll be here tomorrow starting at 4 o'clock sharp. Also want to remind you to make sure that you can utilize the SharePoint. I will be sending a reminder out. A committee member indicated that they've forgotten what the URL is, so we'll send that back out to you to make sure that you still have access to the SharePoint. During these budget hearings, you still also have the opportunities to communicate with department heads for additional questions that you may not have had an opportunity to ask during the budget hearings. This week, the mayor will be filing the CIB per charter. So if you can, make every effort to be at the budget hearings. I'm anticipating one work session. You should have received your sheets for your wish list. I don't have a date yet when those should be due, but still, you should have an idea at some point. I mean, because of where we are as it relates to the budget for your wish list. I want to make sure I'm telling you guys everything. The SharePoint, the wish list, the one work session. Also, I stated something incorrectly earlier as it relates to the CLB during the Metro Human Relations Commission budget hearing. The CLB will be here Thursday, not Wednesday. So what we're instituting this year in the budget hearings is that we're going to have some nonprofits come before us and discuss their budgets with us. As you know, the passing of trustee today, his budget hearing is going to be deferred indefinitely. I'll be working with Attorney James. Go ahead. Have we changed it May 23rd?
Ms. Davy has indicated that she may.
On May 15th? Okay, well, I'm corrected. So we may have the trustee's office here on Wednesday, May 15th. I'll work with Mr. Jameson. In the event they're not able to do that, we will have someone in that space. SharePoint, anticipated work session, wish list. I think that covers everything, and we are adjourned. I'll see you here tomorrow at 1600. Thank you so much.
This has been a service of the Metro Nashville Network. If you would like to see this presentation again, or for more information about this and other programs, visit nashville.gov.